What's good, y'all? Prince Sports here. I didn't even get my tie, everything on, set it on right. But check this out. The Clippers, what are you doing? You let Paul George walk for nothing, okay? You got nothing in return after you gave up Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, who became an all-star and an MVP candidate just last season. Now you got nothing. Now you stuck with an injury-prone Kawhi Leonard that you probably shouldn't have paid for like that. If anybody should have took a pay cut, it should have been Kawhi Leonard, just based off performance alone and not showing up, right? Then you probably would have been able to give Paul George that fourth year that he was so-called looking to. But guess what? Paul George now is a Philadelphia 76er. He gets to play with Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. And Joel Embiid, you had Jimmy Butler, you had James Harden, you had some good players. Now you got an even more better player to fill out your roster for more recent times. So now you have to build around your roster with Kelly Oubre still on the roster. Eric Gordon signed with you. Andre Drummond is a good replacement. He's an injury, he's a, what you call it, Joel Embiid space holder. Okay? In case Joel Embiid get hurt, that's the guy that's going to get a lot of playing time, right? So he's there for Joel Embiid insurance. But Paul George, you are now in the Eastern Conference. You went out of your comfort zone in California to come to the East, where your team is going to be looked upon as a little bit differently. You're going to be a top 3 seeded team in the East. It's not just because the East is primarily weak, but the competition out there is a little bit different. And I could easily see Philly having a good regular season. Paul George came off damn near a career year last season. He shot all in the highs in field goal percentage, free throw percentage, 3-point shooting. I mean, that was one of his best years, and very efficient year. And now if he continues that slate, you get to do that while being a third option, so to speak, with the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, technically, Tyrese Maxey, is he better than Paul George? I wouldn't go as far to say he's better than Paul George, but out of respect, Paul George may take the back seat and let Tyrese Maxey do his thing because he's a more younger player. And Tyrese Maxey is a guy that's still trying to break through. Paul George, you already know what you're going to get out of Paul George. He's been in the league long enough. But the Clippers are a dumpster fire. They're going to be a team that's not in the Western Conference picture for a while. Okay? Hanging on to James Harden and Russell Westbrook. I know you probably most likely going to trade him, but it's just going to be James Harden and Kawhi Leonard out there with the moving pieces that the Clippers have. All right? And you got nobody to fill that gap for Paul George because you let him go. And the Golden State Warriors, I know you probably feeling robbed out right now. You didn't even get a chance to sit down with Paul George. This guy was going to leave and go to Philly right off the bat. I think since that time, you've seen them in the NBA Finals, Joel Embiid and Paul George. You know what was up. When Joel Embiid looked at Paul George, I know he was talking to the guy, convincing him to come to the Philadelphia 76ers. That tampering worked. You know what I'm saying? I was right, 100% right. I say he was coming to Philly ever since that interview in the NBA Finals. Now look where we at. He didn't give no other teams a shot. That means directly he wanted to go to Philly. He informed the Clippers that he was leaving. He going to Philly. That's the end of that. Now, Philly fill out the rest of your roster. When you got 2 perimeter players and your main player is Joel Embiid, he has to stay healthy, of course. But I think what you're going to need around you is more defense and 3-point shooting. You're going to need to just spread the floor, and you should be just fine, right? So just go out there and find that. There's plenty of outlets you could find. You could always find a role player growing on a tree. Tell them to come into this team, play your role. You know, telling a guy to come to a team and your sole purpose is just to play defense, it gives him a little more easier assignment. So now he knows exactly what to do. And you're going to need some defensive-minded players and a player that could shoot the three ball, a little more open to shooting the three ball, and you're going to be just fine. They filling out their roster pretty good. So you got to give it up to the GM for the Philly, but the GM for the the GM for the Clippers, no. You fucked everything up. And y'all moving into a new arena too? And you lost Paul George and you're moving into a new arena? You think Kawhi gonna put people in the seats? He gonna be sitting in the seats. He ain't getting up. He gonna be in the seats with street clothes on. What a bad look, man. Clippers, you just now you ain't even got no draft picks because you gave them up to get Paul George. So now you're gonna have to be in basketball limbo for quite some time. Paul George is now a Philadelphia 76ers. What you think about that? Does this make them the best team in the East? Let's find out.